The classroom smelled of chalk dust and cheap floor cleaner, the kind that never quite masked the odor of old walls and too many restless children. Aisha sat in the third row by the window, her hands folded tightly in her lap as if she were afraid they might shake if she let them go. Outside, the schoolyard buzzed with distant shouts, but inside the room, the tension had settled thick and heavy. It always did when the conversation turned personal. "So what does your mom do?" the teacher asked casually, tapping her pen against the clipboard. Aisha swallowed. She knew what would come next, but she answered anyway. "She's in the Navy," she said softly. A few kids snickered. Someone muttered, "Yeah, right." The teacher raised an eyebrow but said nothing, already moving on to the next student. That should have been the end of it. It never was. Recess came, and with it, the usual crowd near the broken basketball hoop. Aisha stayed close to the wall, tracing cracks in the concrete with her shoe. She heard them before she saw them, 3 older boys and a girl who always smiled when things were about to get ugly. "Hey, Navy girl," one of the boys called out. "Tell us again how your mom's a superhero." Aisha didn't answer. She kept her eyes down, her jaw clenched. The girl stepped closer. "You said your mom's a Navy SEAL, right?" She laughed loud enough for others to hear. "Girls can't even be SEALs. You think we're stupid." "My mom is," Aisha said, her voice trembling but firm. "She told me not to lie." The laughter stopped for half a second, then exploded. "Shut up," the tallest boy snapped. "My uncle's in the military. He says women don't do that stuff." Another boy shoved her shoulder. Not hard, but enough to send her stumbling back into the wall. "She probably just cleans ships," someone added. Aisha's face burned. She could feel tears threatening, but she refused to let them fall. Her mom had taught her that much. Control your breathing. Don't give them the victory. The shove came again, harder this time. Her back hit the concrete, knocking the air from her lungs. Before she could react, a foot struck her leg. Not a stomp, not enough to break anything, but enough to hurt. Enough to scare her. "Say it again," the tall boy sneered. "Say your mom's a SEAL." Aisha looked up at them, her chest tight, her ears ringing. "She is," she whispered. That was when the bell rang. Teachers poured into the yard, and the group scattered like nothing had happened. Aisha pulled herself up slowly, brushing dirt from her uniform. Her knee throbbed, but she stayed silent when a teacher asked if everything was okay. She nodded, because explaining never helped. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Words on the board didn't make sense. The ticking clock sounded louder than usual. When the final bell rang, Aisha grabbed her bag and ran. At home, the small apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Her mom wasn't back yet. She sat on the couch, staring at the door, replaying the scene over and over. Maybe she shouldn't have said anything. Maybe telling the truth wasn't worth it. When the door finally opened, boots hit the floor with a familiar, steady weight. Her mom stepped inside, her posture straight even when tired, her eyes sharp in a way that missed very little. Aisha tried to smile, failed. Her mom noticed immediately. She always did. "What happened?" she asked calmly. Aisha hesitated, then lifted her pant leg to show the forming bruise. Her voice broke as she spoke. "They said you couldn't be a SEAL. They kicked me for saying you were." The room went very still. Her mom knelt in front of her, examining the bruise with controlled care. Her face showed no anger yet, but something darker flickered in her eyes. Something cold and focused. "Did you lie?" her mom asked. Aisha shook her head. "Good," her mom said quietly. "Because tomorrow, I'm coming to your school." Aisha's heart skipped. "Mom, please don't." Her mom stood, already reaching for her phone. "No one gets to put their hands on my child. And no one gets to decide who I am." There was a pause, then a small, dangerous smile. "They're about to learn exactly what a Navy SEAL looks like." The next morning moved slower than it should have. Aisha barely touched her breakfast, the spoon clinking softly against the bowl while her mom watched without saying much. She wasn't in uniform. That alone felt strange. Instead, she wore plain jeans, a dark jacket, her hair pulled back tight. But something about her presence filled the small kitchen, like the air before a storm. "Stay with your class today," her mom said calmly. "Don't look for me. Don't speak unless you're asked." Aisha nodded, her stomach twisted with worry and a strange spark of hope she didn't fully understand. At school, whispers followed her through the hallways. Someone had seen the bruise. Someone else had heard the story. The same kids from yesterday glanced at her and laughed under their breath, confident as ever. To them, this was already over. It wasn't. Midway through the second period, the principal's voice crackled over the intercom, asking for several teachers to come to the office. A few minutes later, the classroom door opened. The teacher paused mid-sentence. A woman stepped in. She didn't look angry. That was the unsettling part. Her movements were precise, controlled, every step deliberate. She scanned the room once, her eyes briefly meeting Aisha's. Just for a second. It was enough. The teacher straightened. "Can I help you? I'm here about an incident yesterday," the woman said evenly. "Involving my daughter." The room went silent. Aisha felt every eye shift toward her. Her cheeks burned, but she didn't look away. The principal arrived moments later, flustered, gesturing for the woman to step into the hallway. Students leaned forward, desperate to hear, but the door closed. Minutes stretched, then more minutes. Finally, the door opened again. "Class," the principal said, clearing his throat, "we'll be having an assembly." The gym filled with students, restless and buzzing. Teachers lined the walls. The principal stood at the front, uncomfortable. Beside him stood Aisha's mother. "She's just a mom," someone whispered behind Aisha. "What's she gonna do?" The principal spoke about school safety, about bullying, about respect. His words floated uselessly until he stepped aside. Aisha's mom took one step forward. "My name doesn't matter," she said calmly. "What matters is what happened to my child on this campus." Her gaze moved across the bleachers, slow and steady. It stopped on the same group from yesterday. The tall boy shifted in his seat. "My daughter was shoved, kicked, mocked," she continued, "for telling the truth." A murmur rippled through the gym. "She said her mother is a Navy SEAL," the woman went on. "And for that, she was told to shut up." She paused. "I am that Navy SEAL." Laughter broke out, nervous, disbelieving. Without raising her voice, she reached into her jacket and handed the principal a folder. He opened it, his face changing instantly. His eyes widened, his posture stiffened. She turned slightly so the students could see the scars along her forearms, faint but unmistakable. "I've served in places you'll never see. I've carried teammates who didn't come home. I've earned every inch of who I am." The gym was dead silent now. "I don't care if you believe me," she said. "But understand this. Strength doesn't look the way you expect. And courage doesn't ask for permission." Her eyes locked onto the tall boy. He shrank under her gaze. "I want the names," she said quietly. Teachers stepped forward. Students pointed. The confidence from yesterday evaporated in seconds. Aisha sat frozen, her heart pounding. She had never seen her mother like this in public. Not loud, not violent, just unbreakable. As the boys were escorted away, her mom finally looked back at her daughter. Her expression softened. "You did the right thing," she said. Aisha felt something lift from her chest. For the first time, she believed it. But the storm wasn't over yet. Because consequences were coming, and the ones who laughed yesterday were about to understand what respect really meant. By the time the final bell rang, the school felt different. Quieter. Like everyone was afraid to say the wrong thing and summon her back again. Aisha walked out slowly, her backpack light, her thoughts heavy. She spotted her mom standing near the gate, talking to the principal. No raised voices, no gestures, just calm words that somehow carried more weight than shouting ever could. The boys who had cornered her yesterday were nowhere to be seen. Word traveled fast. Suspensions, mandatory meetings, parents called in. The kind of consequences kids never believe will actually happen, until they do. In the car, neither of them spoke at first. The engine hummed softly as they pulled away. "I'm sorry," Aisha finally said, staring at her hands. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." Her mom glanced at her, then back to the road. "You didn't cause anything. You survived something." They stopped at a red light. Her mom reached over and squeezed Aisha's hand. The grip was warm, steady, familiar. "People don't like what challenges their ideas," she said. "Especially when it comes from someone they think is small." Aisha nodded. She felt small sometimes. Yesterday, she had felt invisible. Today felt different, not fearless, but seen. That evening, there was a knock at the door. Aisha froze. Her mom didn't. She opened it to find two adults standing there, faces tight with discomfort. Behind them stood the tall boy from the yard, eyes fixed on the floor. "We wanted to apologize," the woman said quickly. "Our son told us what happened. We're ashamed." The boy shifted. "I'm sorry," he muttered. "I shouldn't have touched you. Or said that stuff." Aisha didn't know what to say. Her mom rested a hand on her shoulder. "Apologies matter," she said evenly. "But what matters more is learning why it was wrong." The parents nodded. The boy nodded harder. When the door closed, Aisha let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Was that enough?" she asked. Her mom smiled faintly. "It's a start." Later that night, Aisha lay in bed listening to the quiet. Her mom sat on the edge, adjusting the blanket the way she always did before deployments. Aisha turned onto her side. "Are you mad?" she asked. "At you?" Her mom shook her head. "Never. At them." Her mom considered it. "I was. For a moment. Then I remembered something." "What?" "That strength isn't proving you can hurt someone back. It's making sure they don't hurt anyone else again." Aisha watched her mom stand and head toward the door. "Mom," she called. Her mom paused. "I'm proud of you," Aisha said. Her mom's eyes softened in a way no one at school had ever seen. "I know," she replied. "And I'm proud of you too." The next week, things changed. Not magically, not perfectly, but people moved aside in the hallway instead of bumping into her. Teachers checked in. A few kids even asked questions, real ones. About the Navy, about discipline, about what it meant to serve. Aisha answered honestly. She didn't exaggerate. She didn't need to. One afternoon, a younger girl stopped her near the lockers. "My dad says girls can't be strong like boys," she said quietly. "Is that true?" Aisha thought of the bruise on her leg, of the woman who walked into a gym and silenced 100 voices without raising her own. "No," Aisha said, "that's not true." That night, her mom packed a small bag. "Just training. Nothing dangerous." Still, Aisha watched closely. "Will you always come back?" she asked. Her mom knelt in front of her, just like she had when she saw the bruise. "As long as I can," she said. "And when I can't, you'll already know how to stand on your own." Aisha believed her, because now she knew something too. The people who tell you to shut up are often afraid of the truth you carry. And sometimes, when that truth finally walks through the door, it doesn't shout. It just stands there, unmovable. If you enjoyed this powerful story of courage, truth, and strength, don't forget to subscribe to the channel Her Stories Words for more unforgettable stories like this.